Hey everyone, Will Brink here, brinkzone.com. Want to do a follow up on my review of the Anthem STR integrated amp. I'm calling it a 1 year follow up, but actually it's been longer, but it has a catchy title to it. So as I mentioned in my review of the ATC SCM 19 V2 speakers, which I still have, I did a follow-up of those speakers, which was actually pretty popular. And my point being, of course, is that, reviewers, when they get something to review, they get this, they get to sit on them and enjoy the gear and review it for a week, 2 weeks, maybe even a month, something in that ballpark. But, we've all had gear, speakers especially, but that 6 months, a year later, that we actually had a bit of a different impression of, and whether we came to appreciate the stuff more or less, or just change it, occurred to me that if I could do 1 year follow-ups on some of the stuff that I had, as well as doing some newer reviews, but if I could do follow-ups on stuff that I already had for people, they might enjoy that. So what I will say is that I actually do not have a lot to add, or that my opinion has changed much about that integrated amp. And so I will link the review below this video, of course. I would still say, I still think, while it's not an inexpensive product to be sure, I still think that it is an exceptionally good deal for what it does, for the performance, for the power, the configurability. I mean, the amount of configuring one can do, customizing one can do with that integrated is pretty impressive. Even though you can still, if you don't want to go down all of those menus and do all that configuring, it is absolutely still a plug and play product. Which is a tough balance. It's not easy to design products that can both, plug and play for people that don't want to go down the customization rabbit hole and offer a lot of customization at the same time. So I really have to give props to them for that. And like I say, my whole opinion of it, as far as sonically, as far as usability, has not changed. So I would definitely say take a look at that. What I do want to talk about today, specific to the SDR and the Anthem product, that I gave some video time to, but I have come to, I think, appreciate it more, understand it more, and also you've just seen it grow. And that's the room correction. That's the Anthem Genesis room correction software. And as far as I know, I'm not aware of another product that has put room correction built into their 2-channel preamp or amplifier or integrated amplifier. Maybe there is one. If there is such a thing, you can correct me or name it below. But the room correction, I think, along with DSP and stuff, I think this is the real game changing stuff where audio is going now. Obviously, automatic, this room correction, of course, is not new to home theater. People with home theater have been using this, especially Anthem, again, has been at this for, well, at least 20 years, maybe more. But room correction for home theater for their DSP is not new to home theater, but it is fairly new, or quite new, really, to 2-channel audio files running, 2-channel or 2.5, which I'm doing, which is 2 speakers and a sub. And I have really come to, like I say, that's the thing I want to actually talk a little bit about. I want to show people what it looks like. I'm going to, show an actual printout. And I'm going to start from sort of scratch for those that maybe really don't have a sense of what it is. So let's start from somewhat the beginning. I think when we're younger, especially when we're new to audio, we're younger, whatever that may be. Maybe we're not always younger. I was younger. I've been, into audio since the mid 80s. Well, actually since I was a kid, but got real quote unquote into audio. But I think when we're young, basically we figure if we want something to sound better, just more power, basically more power will solve it. And if more power doesn't solve it, bigger speakers will solve it. And that's kind of like where your mind is at, I think. Just make it louder. Then I think as you go along and you get more into it, you start to really understand things like gear matching, to sound better. You really then start to understand, obviously, things like speaker positioning is really a key, if not the key, to getting the most out of your audio system, especially. I'm on a number of like Facebook audio groups. And I am always, even to this day, I'm really often surprised by the number of systems I see. And some of these are very high-end systems, and these are six-figure plus systems where the speakers in particular are in the worst possible position for good audio. I mean, they're usually too close together, backed up against the wall, or shoved into a corner or something. And invariably, I and others will always say, and usually the person is posting the photo to say something like, I'm not getting what I want from the system. What would you guys recommend? And they usually say, do you recommend me getting a new amp or something? And myself and others will often say, what you really need to do is get those speakers out away from that back wall or that corner, put them in the proper position between each other for your listening position, and learn your room and learn how to actually get what you need, get those speakers to get the most from them and the room. And that brings me to the next part, which is, I think, the final part, quote unquote, of your sort of audiophile journey in many respects, is understanding and appreciating the room and realizing the room is, I don't know, at least half the battle or whatever. Now, the room can be more or less important to the audio depending on the room. It depends on, obviously, the size and the type of room and what you have in it and all that. So this is why we're getting to the room correction software here. The reality is that most of us, the vast majority of us, including myself, we still have a room that we have a space that we have to work with. We don't have dedicated listening space, which is full of bass traps and carpets and, all that, where we can get this like perfect listening position where the chair is and all that. Especially where I am now. I mean, look at my messy office / home gym behind me. I one time I actually did have a pretty good sized dedicated home theater room, but when I moved to a smaller house, I don't have that anymore. So, and we are all not all, most of us are still stuck with the space that we have to work with. We can only do so much. The picture that you saw, the intro picture, the thumbnail picture to this, is my main system. I have two. One is sort of it's sort of my budget system, I guess I call it. It's in my other place, which I've done some videos on. That sort of a test bed thing, kind of play with stuff. And the one you saw is sort of my main system, and my space there, as you can see, is less than perfect. I mean, that's the only space in that living room I really have to work with. If you see on the left side of the photo, there's a doorway behind it, open space. If you look to the right side, you see there's a corner there. The speaker on the right side is not as backed into the photo as, you can't quite see. It's not as backed into the corner or into the wall as you think. It's about 2 feet from the back wall and about 2 feet from the side wall, which is about the best I could do as far as getting it not in that corner. The speakers, if you look at the photo, also, just FYI, are not my regular speakers, and nor is the sub in the corner. Those are a pair of SBS1 speakers and sub that I am reviewing, that I'll have a review for next week. And they're active speakers, really interesting speakers. But when I got them to listen to them, I had to rerun the Arc Genesis room correction software, which is where I'm getting here finally, for those speakers for the room. So what does Arc Genesis do, or what does room correction software do? I'm focusing mostly on the Anthem product because that's what I know. There are other companies that make room correction software, and I just don't have experience with them. But my understanding is they're actually pretty decent, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But again, the room, when you start to learn again that the room is a major part of your audio, and that almost no room is perfect. It's going to have anomalies. You're going to have refraction and diffraction. especially in the lower end, but in general. And you can only put so many, puffy pillows on couches. You can only put so much stuff on the walls. You can only move so many things around to try to even that out. And this is where room correction software, I think, is really a game changer as to what it can do. And I think that once you've had some experience with room correction software, it's really hard to ever really go back. And so basically what room correction software does, hence the name, is it will adjust for the room anomalies, can flatten the room out as far as bumps and troughs, as to where things are bouncing around and where there's dead spots and so forth. And it can make a major difference. Again, depends on the room to some degree. And like I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up and show you how it works. The Anthem system, the ARC Genesis, works a number of ways. The simplest way, which honestly how I use it, I'm really not. Not only am I lazy, I'm also don't really have the full technical knowledge to really want to mess around with it too much manually. I've played around a little bit, but honestly, I tend to trust the engineers that have just spent decades figuring this out to probably have it figured out. But there's a number of ways you can do it. You can run it the standard preset way and then have that automatically set it for you. And then if you want, you can go in and manually change a few things. Where most people seem to manually change things in the ARC is in the bass. And this is another topic to discuss a little bit. I think that, again, most people are really not used to hearing accurate bass. They are used to bass that is a little overemphasized. You're going to get room gain depending on where they've put their sub. And to them, when they first hear the ARC done, they say it sounds lean. It sounds a little bass shy to them. It bothers them. They tend to go mess with it. My advice would be truly to leave it alone for at least a couple of weeks. Go in and put on the music that has some bass, and music that maybe wouldn't normally have bass. You will find that if the bass is supposed to be in the music, it'll be there. But if it's not going to be there in your face. I think for a lot of people that have gotten used to sort of bass heavy music, or just bass that isn't necessarily there due to room gain, for them it sounds a little lean. And I really think you got to give that some time. Conversely, at least traditionally speaking, most 2-channel audiophile purists don't like subs. Because of that reason. They find that it's muddy. They think it's overdone. It's masking, the music. And I would say to them that if they haven't tried it, room correction will fix that. But 2, most of the time they have really not heard a good musical sub correctly set up. If you have a quality musical sub that is correctly set up, you don't hear it. You should never know it's there. You should never be aware of it being there. The only time a properly set up quality sub for 2-channel, you're only going to notice when you turn it off. That's really when you know it's there. You go and turn it off and realize, wow, a whole lot of the music just disappeared that I was enjoying. But you should not hear it. It should not be overwhelmingly in the room. And certainly without room correction software, getting a sub properly integrated into a 2-channel system actually is a pain in the ass, and it can take a lot of work. And you've got to go back and forth between your listening position and mess with the volume, and sometimes mess with the crossover point, depending on where the speakers find that the sweet spot and where you want the speakers to play and so forth. Well, the Anthem room correction software does all that for you, basically, without a lot of muss, a lot of fuss, without a lot of what they call room crawling around the room and stuff, looking for the perfect bass location, sub location, and all that. So I'm talking both to both people, to the 2-channel audiophile purists who don't think subs sound good. It's good in a 2-channel system. I think they're really not correct. I listened to a system. Well, a lot of really high-end systems will have subs incorporated into them, for one thing. I listened to a system that was around $500K not long ago. The speakers alone were $350,000 a piece. Wilson speakers, and they had, 2 JM subs. Now, those JM subs were only brought in at just to fill in the lowest ends, almost a visceral, more of a visceral thing, but they sounded fantastic. They were not overwhelming the room nor the system and so forth. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about as far as what the Arc Genesis can do for a room using these SBS1 active speakers. I also did an interview not long ago with the designer and owner of the company, which I'll link to if you want to understand both the pros and cons of active speakers, his design, and then when I come up with my review, hopefully next week or so, you'll get more of it. But so basically, how does it work? I'm going to start from again scratch. You don't know anything about this. How does this work? You basically, it comes, the Arc Genesis Anthem system comes with a microphone, comes with a stand, it comes with the cable, everything. Set up the microphone in your listening position. It does some sweeps. It's a really annoying noise where it reads the room. It then gives you a reading of what your room is like without any correction. You then run the correction, and it then shows you what it did for you. And let's look at that. I'm gonna bring this in. Okay, there we go. So what it does for you is it actually gives you a report, and then it will give you a PDF if you want to download it as a PDF, which is honestly what I tend to do. Oh, hold on. That's not what I was trying to show you, people. Sorry. See. Anyway, all right. So let us go down. I'm new to this. You're gonna have to not be too irritated with me here, people, because I'm new to the screen sharing thing. So let's check this bad boy out. Okay. All right. Hold on. Okay. So this is a PDF printout, basically, that it gives you. That is the name of the picture of the unit. That's when I ran it. So this is when I ran the most recent room correction, when I had to set up these speakers to audition them. So here's what it does. The first time it runs the sweep, it runs the front left. Now, these 3 lines are, if you look at the bottom left, you'll see target curve. The target curve is basically the reference curve. It's basically what a perfect room would look like. And of course, there's no such thing as a perfect room, but that's what the room correction would be shooting for. The red curve is the measurement curve. That's where it runs at minus any correction. This is basically what you're listening to with uncorrected. Now you can see there's a fair number of anomalies in this room, and it's all bumpy. You can see there is a bump around 60 hertz. You can see there's a trough. Now, this is for a non-corrected room. This is actually not that bad. I think most people would actually be surprised who have done this type of thing. That I think these speakers are actually playing pretty nicely with my room. However, the corrected curve, which is the green line, is basically after it. Now you watch the red one, you say yes, apply the room correction. The Anthem software, the Arc software, corrects the room, and as you can see, it's pretty close. It's pretty close to the reference target curve. It's pretty impressive. I mean, you've got a little bit of a trough, and you've got a little bit of a hump around a little below 10K. I guess that'd be about 9K, but it's pretty impressive. It's flattened the room right out. Now, the next sweep it does, it's going to do the front right. Now, what I want you guys to notice is you will notice the red line is how much different that is from the left side. You would think, okay, they're not that far apart. They're about the equal distance from the wall. You would think they'd probably have pretty similar measurements, but as you can see, they're actually quite a bit different, and that's because the one side is next to an open doorway and has no room boundary to the left of it as far as wall boundary. The right one is not in the corner, but it has both it has a side wall to deal with, and it's surprisingly different from the two. Now, after running the corrected curve, notice it's pretty darn close to the target curve, but again, it could not get rid of that extra hump in the setting around 8K and then dropping off as expected around what is that? Close to 20K. But it's a heck of a lot better. And then what it will do, the next thing the ARC does, let's go to the subwoofer. It will run the subwoofer because, again, you're telling the system what you have, what you need, whether you have one subwoofer, two subwoofers, what the ranges of your speakers, where you want the cutoff to be. Most of the time, the preset is cut off at 80 hertz, but for this particular speaker system, I actually went to 100, and I'll explain that another time. All right, so look at the target curve. That's what would be like the perfect curve. You look at the measured curve, which is pretty lumpy, and then you look at the corrected curve, which is a heck of a lot better. And then you do get, it couldn't completely eliminate that hump there, but it still does a much better job. So that's what you're going to get. That's just a quick, what I will do. Again, I'm not getting into a lot of details about the Anthem ARC room correction. For those that are, if I'm not being clear enough, I will put below the video a link for you to go understand the science behind it, how it works, and all that a whole lot better. So don't worry about that. This is just a quick overview. All right, I'm going to take this guy out. So it's like I say. So the summary of the STR integrated amp 1 year plus summary is, I really have nothing to add in terms of the sonic signature and character. It's a very neutral unit. It is very configurable. It's very easy to use. It sounds great. The only thing I would change, I guess, is maybe I would have got the separates, and that's not anything negative to say about the unit. That's because separates look cool, and there is more juice. There is more juice. And again, the integrated amp has lots of juice, as you can, if you go look it up. It does not lack for it. I can't imagine how big a room and how inefficient speakers you would have to have for that integrated not to be able to easily and effortlessly fill the room and drive those speakers. But we're audiophiles. We know need is not what we're talking about. It we enjoy, we want it, and I have to say those meters on the amplifier, the separate, kind of do it for me. So, but no, at this point, I have no real drive to get rid of that integrated amp, and so far I'm really, really happy with it. So that one I think is if I ever do get rid of it, sell it, do something else, it will certainly not be to any shortcomings of that product. Again, from a sonic audio perspective. All right. Hopefully that's all I have to say on it. I hope that helps you guys as far as I think one thing I really wanted to focus on that I think is a game changer that I think people need to look in. Oh, sorry. I have one more thing I do want to say is that as much as I focused on the Anthem ARC product, I mean, there are other companies that, like Mini DSP does sell, for example, a standalone unit that has Dirac room correction software in it. I don't have any experience with it. Supposed to be quite good. I've never heard anything negative about it. And that is a way that you could, or people can get into room correction with DSP as a separate unit that you would be able to tie into your existing system without having to buy. Now, my marketing advice to Anthem, honestly, is I think they should put their ARC Genesis in a separate box and offer it as a completely separate standalone unit that people could integrate into their existing systems and enjoy the benefits of room correction. And I think that would be great. But as far as I know, they're not doing that. You have to basically buy something from the Anthem family of products and their AV processors and their STR stuff to enjoy it. But like I say, there is other companies that you can get into room correction with and via DSP. And the one that comes to mind is, I know that Mini DSP sells, I think, at least 2 units. There's one that is analog and digital, and I think there's one that's just digital. That if I for some reason was to get rid of that STR integrated or whatever, that's the route I would go. I would end up getting something probably from Mini DSP and incorporating that is how I would get into room correction, which again I think is a game changer. Okay, that's my only add-on, and I hope this info is of value. Subscribe and like it if it was useful, and I'll see you guys on the Brink Zone.